Welcome everyone, this is the Model Gaming Show live. It is Sunday, May 6th. I'm your host, GWFawkes, and let's dig right into the past week. So if you're joining me, this is on Sunday. First show on Sunday, had to switch my schedule around, and I figured this is a little bit more practical for me to do and switch up the schedule. So now all of my content right now is Sunday through Wednesday, and anything bonus will be those Fridays and Saturdays. Thursday just can't make it happen anymore. So I figured Sunday, I'm not doing anything on Sundays anyway, so it'd be perfect. But I want to dig right in. The only new release that released last week, and it was Frostpunk. Game I'm not too familiar with. It's a survival horror game, or excuse me, a survival game where you're in charge of keeping a group of survivors alive in basically a post-apocalyptic world in tundra. And it looks pretty cool. It's currently at an 85 out of 100 on OpenCritic, which is fantastic. And yeah, I mean, it looks very interesting. It's not really my type of game, but looks very fun, and yeah, getting the reviews to back it. So this is an interesting week. Really not that much happening, simply because we had a huge release last week with God of War, or the last 2 weeks, right? And Yakuza on the 17th. And so those are your heavy hitters coming up through May. And there are some decent releases in May, but essentially everyone's gearing up for E3, which is in June. I think it's 12th, 13th, 14th this year. So this is kind of like a little dead period, nothing crazy happening, but some interesting announcements and release trailers that I want to get into. So just going to be a little shorter of a show tonight. The first is Nintendo had a bunch of big announcements, changing presidents, and I discussed that prior last week, but just want to add something that basically the guy who's taking over, Shintaro, he is like a numbers guy. He's like he was like in the accounting department, I think, for 10 years in Germany for them in Nintendo of Europe. So he is a numbers guy, and that's why they're pushing mobile. And that leads into my next topic of Nintendo is releasing a mobile-only RPG called Dragalia Lost. And it looks like it's only going to come out in Japan for now. It's in early access, and it is simply an RPG mobile game. The only problem and the only thing that concerns me is that a lot of those are pretty cookie cutter and similar. Maybe that's the way to go about it. Maybe that's the way to get what they want out of mobile. But again, they've got such a back catalog that I feel like, yes, they're making a new RPG, and that's great. Hey, new IP, it's always a great thing. But that it would behoove them, if this guy's going to take over mobile, why don't you get some team to just make proper emulations for all these things and just put everything on the Switch and mobile? That's just me, though. They actually also came out and said they were going to officially support the 3DS through 2019, which that's fantastic. Whether they will actually release any new games for that system, who knows? But for now, that is good news for all 3DS owners. I used to own a 3DS. I played a bunch of games for it and kind of got what I wanted out of it. I thought the 3D was great. I used it all the time, and I played games with it. But for me, the Nintendo handhelds have always been something that I feel like I should buy at the end of its cycle. Like if I've never played a 3DS before, I would go and buy a regular 3DS XL, not the new one because they don't play certain games, but I would play like the old 3DS XL and just buy all 20 or 30 games that I would want to play and get it. My thing is the screen's small, and I end up craning my neck down, and it's basically bad for my posture. So that was always a barrier. I also like playing video games on a big screen. I always have, and that's always kind of been a barrier for me. But if I'm a handheld person, that's a system I would get immediately. Their back catalog is amazing. It's got a ton of great games, and you should definitely check it out if you like Nintendo at all. The next thing that they're doing that Nintendo announced, is that their E3 schedule, basically it's their main deal is 9 a.m. on June 12th, and then you have Treehouse Live, which they did last year too, throughout the conference, right? So the remaining days, they basically have hosts playing through different games, getting the developers on. They'll play through the same game, right? Like different times, but highlight different things about it, get a different artist on, or lead, or director, or musician, or whoever worked on it. And it's actually really cool coverage. I do like it. They don't have any E3 presence anymore. I wish they would, but in hindsight, it looks like they're really going to focus on Smash this year, which is great. It appears to be a brand new Smash, which is cool. But I really wish they would be part of E3. It is one of the hugest, is the biggest conference of the year, and just a massive trade show. And they just kind of do their hour-long, it's basically like an Ultra Direct, Nintendo Direct, and then they do Treehouse Live, and it's cool, but it's a little bit cheesy, a little bit corny, and I guess exactly as you would expect from Nintendo. So I'm really looking forward to this year's E3 for Nintendo, frankly, because I hope they give us some hope for the remainder of the year and going into next year. Just something to look forward to. And I know Smash is a big one, but we haven't even had a release date for this year for Smash. This very well could be next year, although it seems it's poised to come out holiday. That's kind of my thinking, since Strikers Mario Tennis comes out, I think, in June. And maybe a release date for Metroid Prime. I don't know. I'm not really getting into E3 speculation right now. There's too much up in the air, and when we get some hard facts, I'll go into it. The next topic I want to talk about, and really the final thing, I've talked about this game a lot, simply because it's so different than anything I had played before at the time when it came out in 2009. That's Red Dead Redemption. And this game, they released another trailer. They put out a notice saying, hey, new trailer in 2 days or whatever. And it was strictly story based. And it kind of gave you an idea of the story and the characters. And then IGN had a massive walkthrough. You got to see some new screens and whatnot, screen captures, but no video, none of the game working. But the author of the article did do a great job of conveying, and I apologize, that's my bad. I should have their name for the person who previewed it. Apologies. But IGN did a great job of kind of giving a great overview of the 45-minute demo that they saw, and really got me excited for a couple of things. The main thing that they wanted to convey, not the graphics, not any of that, was they made it feel like it's an actual living world. And that basically reminded me of Shenmue. Everyone had a job. Everyone was doing something. It's not just like everyone's just standing around, never moving. It's got a day-night cycle. It has what do you call it? Active weather, right? It has changing weather where a storm could come out of nowhere and start raining. That's always something that's fantastic that I love in video games, and especially in a huge world like this. Another interesting thing is they basically named a lot of the characters in it, and many of them are from Red Dead, just the younger versions. You got Bill Williamson, the reveal of John Marston. These people are all part of your gang, and there seems to be like 15 to 20 of them that you have an ecosystem that you have to provide for as Arthur Morgan. They did release new information saying that Arthur Morgan will be the only playable character. He's it. It is his story. Everybody else is just coming in and out or a part of it. So he has to provide for the camp, get food, make sure everything's okay, talk to these people. And Rockstar did say, hey, if you don't want to do anything, your camp will just move along without you. But I think part of the fun in that is, I love stuff like that. I think the best example of that for me in what I've played is in Assassin's Creed Brotherhood, I think it was, or Revelations, where you had your own little city to explore and build up, and you could also send out troops and train troops, and it was pretty basic, but this seems like a cool way to give you a little bit more value and really create a living world and a living atmosphere. I love atmosphere in games. I love that vibe that feels lived in, and it is definitely a prequel story. It is essentially the end of Dutch's gang. He has been keeping them together, and even though that's not the life anymore, he's keeping this band of characters together, and essentially police have put out a notice to any bounty hunters or whatever to take them out, since they are like the largest, gang. Of note, people pointed out, so Blackwater is clearly seen in this trailer, which is a big location from before. In the previous game, which is exciting. But not only is that exciting, we know what year this place takes place in 1899, and part of the lore of the last game is in 1899 in Blackwater, there is a massive massacre. I think it's called the Blackwater Massacre. And it's, they say like 17 lawmen and 15 outlaws died. So, that seems like it's going to be a key focal point for this game, considering in Red Dead Redemption, we only meet, 3 people from Dutch's gang. I'm forgetting the Mexican guy that was part of his gang, that he's got like the short little mustache in the pictures here, Bill Williamson and Dutch. So we just got 3 that we know from the last game that I think we encountered. And now there's 15 people in this group, including Marston, who we know survives. So it's going to be very interesting to see how they tie back in and all the little Easter eggs. And it looks like it's going to be a huge game. The article mentioned that the graphics are incredible and stunning, despite what you may think the trailers look like. That it's just an incredible open world. And really, that I've said it before, and it's still my most anticipated game of this year after all that I've seen. We're not quite at the halfway point of the year, but from what I've seen and what's been announced, games coming out this year, nothing is really close. Even with seeing God of War reviews and seeing how good this is, there's still nothing quite like, for me, a Western atmosphere, and you just don't get that. I mean, there have been 8 God of War games, I think now. There's been one Red Dead Redemption and really one seminal Western game that has come out, and it's been it. I don't think I'll go back and replay Red Dead. I do have it. I have it on I have it on backwards compatibility for my Xbox. Don't know if I'm going to do any streams of that, just because of the logistics of it with where my Xbox is. But yeah, it's a game that you should revisit, especially if you have an Xbox One X. That's another thing I wanted to mention. If you have seen the texture upgrades and everything like that, the resolution upgrades that the Xbox One X gives to Red Dead Redemption, it's crazy. You obviously can't overhaul the graphics, but the clarity and the resolution upgrade is well worth it. It looks incredible on an Xbox One X, and it's something that if you have that system, definitely give it a playthrough before the new one comes out. All right, everyone, that is going to do it for tonight. I know it's a unfortunately not a very busy week this week in entertainment news, at least on what I want to talk about. Hopefully next week we'll bring a little bit more. Also, we had a little bit longer of a break in between the last one, so I wish I had more to talk about, but Red Dead was basically the big news this week, and last week was Nintendo. So that's pretty much it. Thank you very much for following me here at twitch.tv/Model Gaming Show. I'm your host, GWFawkes, Fawkes. You can find me at Instagram, or on Instagram and Twitter. And you can basically catch me here every night, new schedule, Sunday through Wednesday at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Mondays, I'm playing Night in the Woods, hopefully looking to finish that up this week or the next. And on Tuesday, Wednesday, should be continuing my playthrough of The Witness. We'll see how that friggin' goes. The first day was amazing. Second, less so, simply because I got stuck on puzzles and did not want to use cheats, so I just kept moving around. Hopefully, I'll be able to do a little bit better this week and progress further in that game. And thank you very much for watching. I greatly appreciate it. Have a wonderful evening.